Welcome back. While $250,000 is helpful to Sarasota's film industry, Florida is struggling to compete with the rest of the nation. In 2010, a jobs bill designated $296 million in tax credits for film studios and production companies. It was meant to last 6 years. In June, the credits expired. The Motion Picture Association of America estimates those credits help bring $3.7 billion to the state economy. As the money dries up in Florida, many states are offering generous incentives. Georgia, Washington, Oklahoma, New York, Louisiana, and Kentucky all offer incentives to cover 30% of production costs. Joining us for more on state and local film industry is Brad Battersby, the head of the film department at Ringling College, Gene Corcoran, the director of the Sarasota County Film Commission, and Victor Young, executive producer at Victor Young Productions. Boy, I have so many questions, but let me start with this. You know, we talked about the Ben Affleck film that was supposed to be shot close to here in Ybor, in Georgia, but the other film involving Bryan Cranston, The Infiltrator, was shot in the Tampa area. So why was that major film production able to be shot around here and Ben Affleck's production not?
Well, first of all, Infiltrator was incentivized not only by Hillsborough County in the Tampa Bay region, but also by St. Pete and Clearwater. They also worked together on Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, or School for Peculiar Children. There were local incentives involved, and it may be, and I don't know without checking the records, but it may be that the Infiltrator pre-qualified for some of those tax credits before they evaporated, and that was the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle that brought them here.
But that fund has dried up.
Yes, that fund ran out of tax credits technically about three and a half years ago. There were still and are still projects that are in the works, and they're in the pipeline of completing their work and applying and receiving and so forth. So there's money there in form of tax credits, but they're allocated and pre-certified and earmarked and gone. They just exist until the projects continue to fulfill their obligations.
So what happens if a production qualified for those credits, but, you know, like many projects, it goes south at some point? Does that get put back into the pot?
No. If they pre-qualified and they were certified, pre-certified for those credits are held for them, which is why we ran out. They pre-certified so many tax credit dollars in advance, especially for TV shows that anticipated doing 5 seasons or 6 seasons and getting 6 years worth of credits. Some of them didn't. Charlie's Angels is a great example. They only shot 3 or 4 episodes before they tanked. That money flowed back in because they didn't finish, they didn't perform. But the ones that are still performing and wrapping up, such as Ballers, had some incentives, but now they're going elsewhere because they have none left. Probably The Infiltrator and other projects.
I have so many more questions about the state aspect of that, but we'll handle that in the next segment. What I want to talk about now is the county package that was just passed by the county commission. What size production would that attract to the Suncoast?
Well, it's very encouraging, first of all, that there's that kind of commitment from the county, because what it does is it provides a lot of filmmakers to come here, and we're able to set up a little bit of a cottage industry, and little by little we're able to get a hold of some major filmmakers, show them the area, show how good our infrastructure and our crews are, and then they'll start to come back. And we've had that great projects recently with Dylan McDermott. We had a great one just this fall. Yeah, Sugar. And this fall we just finished a web series with Justin Long and his brother Christian. And this, I mean, these guys rave about our area and our ability to make something.
So, Victor, would this help somebody like you who is interested in developing these projects shoot them locally?
Absolutely. Without some type of incentive, it really makes more sense to go to an Atlanta. You know, so this allows us to...
Is that what you've had to do in the past?
Absolutely. I mean, if you can't budget your project locally, you have to go somewhere else. And so by having a county-wide incentive, you're able to get enough back, per se, enough added value back that you can cover some of your costs, and maybe even attract an investor by covering some of that cost and making that project look a little bit more advantageous to someone investing in and helping you out on the other side.
So has this opened your eyes for specific projects that you think you may be better off shooting here?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and we want to shoot locally. I mean, it's for being a Floridian. You want to shoot in your home state. You want to shoot in your home city. So
I want to applaud. I want to.
All right.
Yeah.
We are just getting started on this discussion, but there is more coming up. But when we return, we'll have your weather forecast, so stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing financial incentives for filmmakers. Last month, Sarasota replenished county funds with $250,000, but at the state level, the tax incentive program ended. Joining us for more on this topic is Brad Battersby, the head of the film department at Ringling College, Jeannie Corcoran, the director of the Sarasota County Film Office, and Victor Young, an executive producer at his namesake production company. Victor, let me ask you, from what you know of the county incentive program right now, how is that changing what you're planning in the near term?
You know, what it allows us to do is really find some projects that fit, that we can maximize this incentive and keep here locally. We've had to create a sweet spot of films that we produce, and so if we can get smart enough people that are really good and proficient at filmmaking, we're able to keep these things local now. So for an example, we just completed a strategic partnership with Digital Caviar, where we're going to make a slate of films in the county and using county film incentives. But we're looking at projects anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 versus looking at projects in excess of $2 million. So it requires us to be a little bit smarter, more efficient, but the incentive allows us to stay local and keep these projects here.
That was my next question, because what size of production are we talking about? Ringling is building those fabulous new studios and sound stages. What size of production can you handle? Can you handle a major Hollywood blockbuster type movie, or are you talking about television projects? And will these incentives help?
Yeah, well,
All of the
no.
above, right?
We'd love to be able to handle the Hollywood style blockbuster movie, but that's not what we offer right now. What we're offering is filmmakers, artists, to come in to make their personal projects, their projects, their dream projects, and to work with our students and the school and the environment and take advantage of some of the things we have going, including this new facility that's going to have 5 sound stages, 2 that'll be 8,000 square feet, 3 that'll be 2,500 square feet, and then a post-production sound facility that'll have editing suites, a Foley stage for sound effects, and then dubbing stage.
Is it possible to give us an example of a project that would fit perfectly there?
Well, we recently, 2 years ago, we made a film, a low-budget film called Dark Knight. And Tim Sutton was the writer-director, and it went to Sundance Film Festival to rave reviews. Eventually, you'll start to see it out in the real world. But that's kind of the ideal. That was the sweet spot for us, which was you take a filmmaker artist who has a passion project, who can connect with our environment, our setting, and our facilities and equipment, and mostly our students. Our students are amazing. They're really trained for this, but they're trained for the smaller, low-budget, independent-style filmmaking.
Jeannie, obviously, this is great news, and the county is doing what it can, but the county cannot do what the state can.
Right.
I know that Commissioner Dieter was really frustrated her last year in the state legislature on this issue.
And she was a champion.
She was
really
a champion,
worked so hard for so
but
many.
it was basically shut out and shut down. Are there any long-term hopes that the state legislature can reverse this kind of decision?
We are very hopeful. I think I just came from a 3-day conference in Orlando with the statewide Film Florida organization, which is dozens of film commissions from around the state. I'm the co-chair of the Film Commissioners Council for the state. And we also have industry professionals that belong to Film Florida, and they participated. Tony Stopperan from Ringling College was there, and we spoke a lot about the Educational Council and the Strategic Futures Council. And we want to come at this from a lot of directions to solve the problem. It's going to take the educational component about what it means to our students to keep the brain drain from bleeding off our brightest and our best and sending them off to New Orleans or sending them off.
Did you invite anybody from the legislature to attend so they could see that there's a real economic benefit to the state?
They are always aware of it, and it is always open to them to come. And I know with committees and so forth and legislative task force being formulated right now, it's a busy time. But we do always have some legislators that are very actively aware of what we're doing. Mike Miller, there's a number of them I could name off. I just don't want to miss anybody and be thoughtless. They are aware of us. They care about our issue, but they have fiscal responsibilities that take them in other directions.
And in the near term, everything we're hearing about the state budget process right now is that they're concerned about that the budget surplus is going to be a lot less than it was in years before. So I would imagine it is unlikely, at least in the next legislative session, of getting some kind of renewed film incentive statewide.
We don't even want to use the word incentive anymore. I mean,
What's the new word?
It's really a misnomer, because incentive implies it's a gift, it's a subsidy, it's a grant, it's a bribe, it's a gimme. That is not what it needs to be, and that's not what it really is, and that's not what we want it to be. We want it to be a rebate of a percentage of qualified spending in the state. So they spend all their money, they document their spending, they prove they've spent it all in the community, and they get a proportionate amount back, a percentage, based on what's qualified spending and what isn't. And it would work for everyone. And the other thing that Senator Dietert had talked to me about over the last couple of years when I've been up in the Capitol was having regions do some match funding, not one-to-one, because we don't have that kind of money, but to have some skin in the game. And we're seeing that happen. Sarasota County has skin in the game. They have put their money where their mouth is.
So has there in any recent time been a major Hollywood production that has approached you wanting to shoot in the county?
Oh, sure, absolutely. We scouted with the Warner Brothers project. We worked cooperatively with Manatee County and Hillsborough County when they were looking at all our different regions. We had Paramount Pictures here when we were going to do the John D. McDonald film, Deep Blue Goodbye. There are a lot of big projects that want to be here. They love the weather, they love the cinematic beauty, they love the sun, they love the light, the crews and so forth. But they have to be fiscally responsible to their bottom line, and their people in their budgetary positions of authority will say it's fiscally irresponsible to come without incentives.
So, Vector, let's say you are a major Hollywood producer,
yes,
and you are thinking about a huge budget right now, but you are from Sarasota. What is your calculation right now? What do you do? Do you just write off the Suncoast and Florida and look elsewhere, or?
Well, like I mentioned before, after a certain dollar amount, you have to. After you exceed maybe $500,000, it just doesn't make sense anymore. You have to have a rebate per se, because what happens is this: even when you call it an incentive, call it a rebate, call it what you will, the production company puts all the money up front. So you make your $1 million, $2 million investment, and then you get this money back in the end. Well, that money might be the money you need for distribution or for promoting your product. So every dollar counts, and it's a lot of money that goes on the table to make these projects.
And we should say that California is struggling with this very issue right now. I read an article just the other day about how a lot of these films are moving to British Columbia.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Ireland, England.
And Los Angeles Hollywood is an expensive place to make a movie these days.
Right. I want to say something to follow up to what Victor was just saying. Our fund of $250,000, basically we give it out in allotments, small caps of up to $25,000, so that we can reward a lot of small to modest budget projects to come our way, get more volume for every dollar. But we also have the option at the county's discretion, if a project is a big project and it has, let's say, a $1.5 million budget, and they can show added value, they've got stars attached, or they've got distribution in place, or they have other added value that really would impress the community, the county has the ability to raise the cap to funds on hand. So a $1.5 million project could get the whole $250,000 back.
Okay. Let's take a break right now, but when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about our story last night. Sarasota County Commissioners have taken a step to help the local film industry, setting aside $250,000 in funds. How can we continue that, to build on that? Our guests join us now for final thoughts. And Jeannie, we'll start with you, because a lot of our viewers watch these programs and say, and they're tired of government spending money on anything.
And government waste and things like that.
And they're saying, okay, so how does this deal from the county commissioner? What kind of return are we going to see on this?
And that's the key word, return. Return on investment is what matters. It's not a giveaway, it's a rebate. If we keep that in mind, we want to see how many dollars back do we get in the community for every dollar we give. And so far, our little program has proven it returns frequently 20 to 1, 15 to 1, sometimes $75 or $80 for every one spent. We've had projects that have returned 8 to 1, that's an 800% ROI. That's
Victor,
pretty nice.
You are a producer. What's your next step?
We're going to continue to create projects and films based around the incentives we were able to get from the film office, and we're hoping that one day the state sees this as our industry just like they would bringing in a plant or Amazon or another company that they would allow to have tax incentives or state incentives to bring jobs and create
That's
jobs.
also a huge debate in Tallahassee these days in terms of incentives for all kinds of industry.
Absolutely.
Brad, what does Ringling do right now? I mean, do you have a salesperson out there trying to find those projects that would fit best into what you're creating?
Well, we have a area at the school called the Studio Lab, which brings in guest artists, and they're in constant communication with some of our past guests like Elijah Wood, Anna Paquin, Luke Wilson, Kevin Smith, and all these people have already expressed interest in coming back and doing a personal passion project with us.
Is there a level of business you basically have to do there to make what Ringling has invested worthwhile?
We very much have to look at what they're looking to do, what we're able to succeed in providing for them, and also constantly for us it's all about the education, because it's all about our students and the value to their education.
Okay. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of you are saying about a plan to give Sarasota teachers a raise. Sarasota's Classified Teachers Association will vote tomorrow on whether or not to give 5,000 employees a 4% raise. This would be the biggest in a decade. If approved, the decision goes to the school board. And here is what some of you are saying. Sahani Arias writes, teachers give their whole lives for their kids. It's not just the hours on campus, but all the time spent at home grading papers and creating lesson plans. Phil Harris writes, it's not that much. It is for 4+ years of college debt and the entrusting of our children and their future. And Alex Kadatz writes, wish Manatee County would give our teachers the same respect as Sarasota. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, want to watch past Roundtable discussions? They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight. Brad Battersby is the head of the film department at Ringling College of Art and Design. Jeannie Corcoran is the director of the Sarasota County Film Office. And Victor Young is executive producer at Victor Young Productions.